Right, in case I post this as a separate video, I am in Naipan, which is in Botswana. Yesterday I had a confrontation, is too harsh a word, but I had a confrontation with an elephant and I had to do something about it because the herd was trying to get to the waterhole, and I realized by their body language that they were not happy with me there. They wanted to get to the water and I better leave. And it was a simple little thing that the one did, came forward and just shook its head, and was his language of saying, you would know. And that was enough. So I just quickly started the car, which gave them a bit of the sound frightened them a little bit. It made them a little bit agitated, is the right word. Anyway, I just did a circle and then waited for them to get comfortable, and then came back, not quite as close, but came back until I could see that they were contented and happy. Shut down the car and then shot some pictures. My story is about elephants.
It's 2024. That means 40 years that I've been exploring the world's most remote places in four-wheel drives, in association with the Overland Workshop.
The story comes directly from an experience Gwyn and I had in 1991 when we ran a lodge in the Okavango. Many of you will know my baboon story. This comes from the same book. The book, of course, is Torn Trousers, the award-winning travel memoir that Gwyn and I put together and published in 2015. It is available on my website in both a hardcover and digital form if you're interested. It's the story of Gwyn and I running a lodge, and it's all true. It's difficult to believe that it's true, but it's true. We had been in the camp for about 6-7 months, and we had some guests. We were quite full at the time. It was a 16-bed lodge, and the elephants had arrived. There was a particular group of 5 males, young males, kind of like a little bachelor group, that had taken up residence near the runway and would occasionally come into the camp, and the guides would take a metal plate and a maglite torch and bang the torch, frighten the elephants, and they would scurry off back to the other side of the runway where they would continue browsing on their mapani or whatever they were browsing on. This was quite late in the evening, and we heard some noise from elephants around the back of the camp, and I was a little bit concerned. There had been a thunder shower, a brief thunder shower. Everything was smelling beautiful, and it was calm after the storm. We'd had dinner with our guests, and everybody had retired for the night. But I could hear the crashing through the bush of the elephants. It was obvious to me that they'd actually moved into the camp, and they had pushed down quite a big tree. Elephants can push down really big trees with ease. That is why they're so destructive. Too many elephants concentrated into a small area destroys that area because they like pushing down trees. It's just something they do to get to the fresh leaves at the top of the tree. It's easy for them. It's like you and I opening a slightly sticky fridge door. The noise got louder and louder, and it was moving into the camp, and it was the dead of night. There was still a distant storm, but it was still now, and I thought, I've got to go and chase them out. They could easily drop a tree onto one of the chalets. The chalets are made out of reed and wood. A tree would destroy and possibly hurt or even kill a guest. It was a real concern for me, well, for both of us. With maglite in hand and steel plate, I walked through the paths, but it was a black night, blacker than blackest black. And I would flash the torch to simulate lightning. I didn't want to spook the elephants yet, until I figured out what was going on. I would flash the torch to simulate lightning to give myself a brief glimpse of the path. I would walk a bit, flash it again, but I would shine the torch up and flash it and get up through the path. I remember passing, and this is pivotal to the story, a donkey boiler. We had built concrete caves. They were probably 4 foot high, 1.5 meters-ish high, with an opening, and in this concrete cage, embedded in the top of it, was a 45-gallon drum with some piping and some venting. And every evening, our man on watch would make a fire, small fire under each, and we had 3 donkey boilers in the camp. Those were generating hot water. And by this time, I remember walking past and seeing it and thinking to myself, that might be useful. The coals were warm. There was no more of a fire, but just a pile of ash, but it was warm to the touch. And I got closer and closer to the elephants, but I couldn't see them, but they were close. I could hear them, and they were making a lot of noise. They were very excited. They were having a party, 5 bachelors out on the town. And I thought, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get as close to them as possible. Elephants have quite poor eyesight, very, very keen senses through their feet, through their skin, but quite poor eyesight at night. My rationale was that if I got close enough to them and really gave them a fright, there was a good escape route. Now, there was an escape route kind of that way, or there was an escape route over the river. I was kind of on the edge of the escape route. And I thought, well, I don't want to be near the escape route. But I've got this donkey boiler here. If they smelt me, they would know after I gave them that fright that I was the enemy, I was the one endangering them, and they would come after me. They would try and stomp me or kill me or whatever. And this I realized, there was absolutely no wind at all. But I thought that if I crept up to them, banged the plate as loud as I could, and depending on what happened, if they went to the river, I'd be good. But if they came kind of this way, I would hide in the donkey boiler, because the smell of the ash would overpower any smell of me. And it being dark, they wouldn't find me, was my rationale. So I creep through the bush, flash, black night, black night, black night. And the elephants are really close. Okay. Bang, 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 bang. All hell was let loose. These elephants, there weren't 5 of them. There were 25 of them. The pandemonium. I swung myself around, flashed it at the donkey boiler, ran, which was, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 meters from me. I don't know, I can't remember, but I remember sprinting, flash, and as I got to the boiler, turned the torch on, and I literally dove into the ash and turned the torch off. I thought, what are you doing? The trees, it was crazy noise, but it died down quite quickly. My heart beating in my chest. I climbed out. I was covered in ash. And I thought, well, they've left the camp. They didn't come past me. They must have crossed the river. Oh well. So I went back to I walked back. It was probably 200, 300 meters back to my little grass hut. And Gwen said, "How did it go?" And I said, "I think I got rid of them. Yeah, you're my hero," and everything. And then the next morning, I said to Gwen, "Let's go and see what the evidence was. How many elephants were there?" And I said, "There weren't 5." We walked back and the whole reed bed in that kind of area that I described was flattened. I mean, the destruction in the reed bed was unbelievable. They had gone straight into the river. There must have been, we reckon there was probably 20 elephants in that group. And actually, if there were 20, they were actually behaving very normally and actually were quite quiet. We thought all of that noise was from the 5 bachelors. But it wasn't. It was from 20 plus elephants. The next morning the guests arrive and Gwyn says, "So, did you hear the commotion?" "Yes, Andrew scared off the elephants." And one of them, a South African guest, started laughing. Why are you laughing? I saved your life." She said, "You tripped over the fire bucket," which is what she thought the clanging was. That is just one of dozens of stories from Torn Trousers. It's got hundreds of 5-star reviews on Amazon. If you like travel adventure, you'll love it. Thanks for listening. See you next time.